hurry up and go, hurry up and go for me. Hurry up and go, hurry up and go. Hurry up and go, hurry up and go from me. Hurry up and go, hurry up and go from me. Hurry up and go, hurry up and go.
It was written by David Marconi, who wrote Enemy of the State and Die Hard 4. He's a director and obviously probably more well known as a Hollywood writer. And Rob Ficilla, who I'd worked with before, he came to me. He had worked with David to write this script.
Well, initially, so he wrote the script with the setting in mind. He knew exactly what he was looking for. He wanted a real London gritty type of film, rather than a glossy Hollywood movie. So it was written with the typical Hollywood 3-act structure, and packing the first 10 minutes of all the action and what you expect from a Hollywood film, but at the same time, it was set in London, in East London, where you can find it's believable. But he also spent a lot of time with Robert to get close to him, because he knew that Robert would be playing the lead in the film. So he got to understand Robert a lot more, and his world. So he based the script a lot around the city and the juxtaposition with the gangster East End rough side, and that's what works really, really well. Where you've got these two worlds. You've got your gangster world, you've got your high-end city world, and that's where he looked at this type of project, and this was the best way of making it work.
There are a lot of different ways to describe this story. I guess the most interesting way of describing it for me would be about two worlds colliding, about the world of this cold yet successful yet slightly lonely rich businessman who comes back and finds his house has been invaded, and then the world of Erica, who is in a way also in this gilded tower, and she is also lonely. So they are different worlds. They are very different worlds, but they do have something in common, and it's about those two worlds coming together and their journey together to find out who Erica is. And at the same time, of course, we find out what's been going on in Nick's world, and it takes us through that journey, and resulting in Erica's freedom in the end, and Nick's changed view of life, really.
Squat was quite a difficult film to produce because, budget aside, it was 5 weeks of nights, and trying to keep the crew sane during that period was very, very difficult. Plus, on top of that, everyone was working night, including the production team, so there was no one in the daytime around to deal with any of the usual production issues. So what I found myself was having to do the day shift to deal with the things that needed to be dealt with in the daytime, and then also oversee the night shoot as well. So you ended up doing like 20-hour days to keep on top of things. So it was quite insane, really, for 5 weeks, and just generally night times are tougher because our body clock doesn't work the same, and you never see daylight, and it's very strange.
Rob was obviously ideal for the role because that specific role was written for him, and therefore he was tapping into his own experience. The next person I cast was Sarah Alexander as Erica, and I mean, she was just right for the role. There were just so many people who came in. There's lots of great actresses out there, but she is somebody who she had that terrific balance of being experienced but yet still fresh, and she just was a natural, really, to bring herself to this role. And then the person who came in slightly later and was much more difficult to find was the character of Roy. And Danny Webb, I'd been after Danny Webb for quite a while, and we had to deal with availabilities, and the producers had to sort a number of things out. So I was just really pleased and excited when he was on board, and it has turned out to be exactly the right person to play that role. He really brought a lot to it.
Yeah, my name's Robert Fachilla, and the character's Nick Dayton. He's the kind of character that's just all about money, all about greed, typical banker, but he also had a tragedy in his life where he lost his son. His wife divorced him because of the strain that it took on him. So he's kind of a lost soul in that sense. So he's just focused now on basically making money and just ruthless. Whoever gets in his way, he takes him down. He's that kind of character. And then he finds himself in a position where he meets this woman. His whole life gets turned upside down. His friends are betraying him, and then he starts to realise the values that there is in life. So towards the end, I think his character then does change right at the end of the film. But naturally, we don't see how it changes. Well, the thing is, I worked in the city. I was in broking, so I kind of used my real life events and stories to bring to this character. So not so much bringing a backstory to him, but just recalling stories that I've lived through and used that to portray in this character.
My name is Armstrong, and I'm playing the role of Erica. The character that I'm playing is essentially two characters. Erica is the name that she's adopted after she's lost her memory. Before that, her name is Zoe. So throughout the film, from the beginning, she's Zoe. And Zoe is a character that's had a tough life, has ended up in London, pregnant, alone, and bumps about the age of, she was 16, and bumps into Roy, who takes her under her wing, looks after her, but ends up very much taking advantage of her vulnerable situation. Then after the car crash happens, she turns into, she becomes Erica, so she has no recollection of her past life. And then towards the end of the film, all the memories come back, by which time she's a sort of amalgamation of Erica and Zoe. She remembers all the bad things that have happened in her life, all the bad things that she's done, which haven't been very pleasant at all. But at the same time, she's this new, fresh, reborn character from when she's lost her memory. So, personally, I don't think Zoe is a particularly nice person. I don't think she has a child. I don't think she's a good mother. At the beginning of the film, we see her in a bar. She's singing to a character called Twig, which we find out he's sort of taken her away from this awful situation that she was in with Roy. We then later find out at the end of the film that she's escaped from Roy, that she's left her child there. And Twig's character he's a bit of a junkie, lives in a squat. So these are the kind of people that she is associating with. And I'm personally, obviously, is someone that will up and leave no matter what situation you're in. You wouldn't leave a child there. So she's involved with squatters, junkies, leaves her child with Roy. So she's not a particularly wonderful person.
Yeah, I'm Danny Webb, and I'm playing the character of Roy, who's the baddest of all the bad guys in the film. Nick, our director, wanted something more than just the gangster, another level. I mean, it's in the writing as well. He's very disturbed. He's, chewing the carpet type disturbing. And so I just invented a little backstory. My generation, he was probably the last of the people to get polio. And so I invented a backstory that he got polio because his mother neglected in taking him and getting the vaccination through laziness. And so it sort of crippled him in his body as well as his mind. And so a lot of his anger and hatred comes from that core. And he mentions that he's the reaper of ills of the world, and so he likes to level things up, which is one of the reasons why he takes so against Nick, our hero, who's exploited the economic conditions of the country. As we all know, the hedge funders and the bankers. And so Roy, in his position as the reaper, is trying to level up, punish those people, and in a way, it's his anger and his within his soul. The reason he's a psychopath is because of that. His mother neglecting him and taking him to the doctor. So he actually levels that up as well. He reaps his anger against his mother. And then get out the other one. Then establish yes, what was lovely when I first met Nick, he discussed a character, and he said, I'd like. It was him that gave the idea. He said maybe he's got this. Maybe he's, maybe speech impediment, Tourette's, and I was thinking, well, Tourette's could be a bit of a problem in terms of, it could be very irritating for the character, for a viewer. And I thought, well, that's what led me on to the polio, and then with his mother, background story of his mother, neglecting to take him to, and then he gets his revenge years later. He waits for his mother. A moment where he gets his revenge on her to pay back, even though he sort of loves her, but he pays her back. And he pays her back because she gets cancer. And then he takes away her morphine. And then he just hears her screaming, begging for her pain relief. And he never gives it to her. And then he records it. Just so when he's in moments of despair, he just listens to that. And so it sets him off. Because he says, I reach despair and I've got to be strong enough to get past it. He actually is focused and goes, right, if he can do that, he can do anything. So he's pretty mixed up.
Yes, my name is Nicky Evans. I play a dragon, which is one of the squatters who are at his house, and we kind of strike up this agreement that if he gives me a sum of money, I will leave and he can have his house back. And while he's looking around the house, he meets a young lady who is really trying to. She's a bit vacant and trying to put together pieces of who she is. You don't know whether she's just off her face on drugs to begin with, and the rest of the journey is all about piecing together who this lady is, what a story is, and Nick's the vehicle that makes that happen, and the squatters are just the kind of catalyst for the story.
He basically comes back from his holiday to find out his business partner's been murdered. The firm, the third of the percentage of the firm has been given to him and his other partner. And basically, when he comes home, he finds all these squatters in his house. There's this girl in the room who's lost her memory, doesn't know who she is, what's going on. Next thing you know, all these gangsters are trying to kill him, kill her, and he's basically trying to figure out who they are, why they're trying to kill him, why they know so much about him, because they know about his hanky-panky trades that he's been doing. And it's basically a thriller trying to work out how he's going to get out of this kind of thing.
Well, Roy fits in because he's been set up, he's been asked to murder Nick's, it's like a contract killing. He's been given a contract to get rid of Nick by one of Nick's hedge fund partners. So that's how he initially has that contact with Nick. But then I think it becomes a lot more personal because as you can see, my character Roy despises those people who pretend to be civilized, who pretend to be the best part of society, that and then actually thieve and steal and create more havoc than Roy sees his character doing ever. I mean, these people rip off countries, and all Roy's character really rips off maybe a bit of illegal gambling, prostitution, whatever. But I mean, it's small potatoes in comparison to what these hedge funders have done. When you think what they've done to the world, so he sees that injustice, and so it becomes quite personal for Roy as well as business.
Well, I did. I mean, to a degree, a lot of the backstory for Zoe was written. Like I say, she came to London 16, pregnant. She had a tough life at home. But then for the majority, there's only a tiny amount of Zoe that I'm playing. The rest of it's Erica, where she hasn't got a memory. So there is no backstory to do for her. I've actually suffered from amnesia myself, and I've sort of taken those moments where I was suffering from it and used that for Erica. And when I was suffering from it, I had no idea where I was. I mean, I knew who I was, but I didn't know who I was or where I was. It's hard to explain.
The car stunt, I do a lot of stunt work, and I love doing stunt work. I like the preparation involved in it, and I like all the time that's spent in working out exactly, trying to identify exactly what all the different parameters are, and of course make it absolutely safe, but at the same time you're never quite sure exactly what you're going to get. The difficulty with this particular stunt was that there was unfortunately only one chance to do it, and when you only get one chance, you have to try and lock down as much as you can. It was very exciting for me to do it on Lambeth Bridge. I'd held out to do it at that location. A lot of other locations were put forward, and in fact, even though we were at the main body of the film, it meant an extra 12 weeks to get permission to shoot it on Lambeth Bridge. It was important to me to do it in an iconic setting with the Houses of Parliament and the Thames and the London Eye and everything kind of sucking into that frame at the beginning of the movie. The stunt went very well, and I was very, very pleased with it. The car didn't take the trajectory that I wanted it to take, which was a 540 degree corkscrew moving forwards. It actually had a different trajectory, and my stunt coordinator and myself were pretty confident that it was going to land on its roof, but unfortunately it landed upright. But that actually worked out well for her getting out of the car and leaving and leading into the opening credits of the film. So yes, I was very pleased with it, and Lambeth Bridge is still standing, so that's an important part of it too.
Here we go. Lots of energy, guys. Dancing, music, drinks, drugs, lots. All A&B. Lovely.
I'm sinking from my head to my toes, and I'm dead in the water. I'm giving in my eyes, it shows, and I'm dead in the water. You help me out.
We kind of need, have we got some like a foreground spot so we can get through frames?
I'm finished with this scene. Nobody remembers my name at all. I'm finished with this scene. Where was I standing tall? I'm broken. Yeah, I'm finished with this scene. You let me out. When I feel please take me back. When I feel
Hands up, Ian. Marvellous work, mate.
anybody remembers, take me my best achievement. They were pouring. Yeah, I'm finishing last. Won't you help me out?